as you're introducing yourself, just briefly share what you're doing to increase visibility for your program among stakeholders. Does that make sense? So you're just going to name program, what you're doing to increase visibility with your stakeholders. Call model. My name is Stephanie Patton. I'm the Adult Education Coordinator here at the Utah State Board of Education, for those of you who are new. What have we done to meet that second goal? So we got a declaration from the governor for Adult Education Family Literacy Week. We have intentionally posted some things surrounding Adult Education Family Literacy Week during that week on our social media and made sure that it got on USBE's social media and did a press release. We also are in the process of making some videos with students. We sent out those invitations for students to participate in telling their story. So that's what we're doing so far. That's just the beginning. We'll keep making it a priority here at the state as well, since that it is our goal. We're going to start. Oh, and let me introduce our team, my team. We're missing a face. Very sad. Kimberly is not anymore on our team, so you will not be seeing emails from her. Anything that you would have emailed Kimberly, make sure you just redirect that to any of us. Well, we're kind of filling in until we get a new person. But we do have an addition to our team. So Jeffrey Ojeda, you want to stand up? He's our ELL resident expert. So he's taken on program monitoring for some of the ELL programs in the state. Super excited to have him here. You're well aware of Danielle Peterson. She continues to monitor most of the state. Some of you are unlucky enough to have me, but most have Danielle. A few have Jeff. So she knows everything about adult ed. We also have Adam Little, who's our IT guy, who's in charge of UASIS and has done wonderful things getting that as far as it is at the moment. And then we have Alex Ellerman, who's our program specialist here. And she's also wonderful and fills in all the holes that the rest of us are missing. So it's a great team and I'm very grateful to work with all of them. Okay, so now we'll start over here. Sorry, I'll make you go first.
My name is Malik Mulitalo. I'm one director of Health Ed in Salt Lake School District, Horizonte. Let me introduce my team. I've got a new coordinator, Maria, not here with us. I've got a new testing coordinator, Andrea, he's not with us. And I've got a new assistant principal, Amina, who's now doing everything that I was doing last year. So what are we doing to increase our visibility with stakeholders? Not much different than what we've done last year, right? Well, you know what? I'm gonna let her talk a little bit because she's been doing a lot of the hard work and the lifting. So I'm gonna let her talk. But hey, it's good to be here with everybody. I mean, it's like my second year, I think. I mean, yeah.
Oh, great. No pressure at all. So, so this year, it's been a couple of years that we've had the website, but this year we're making sure that everything's updated on a weekly basis so that our students can have access to all the current information about all the programs. We also are pretty active in social media, Facebook and Instagram. We have printed new flyers and handed them out to community this year. And then we've ordered like these 3 big, huge banners that we put on our fence in the entrance. And that's not the flyers that you guys provide, but those are like completely different. We created them. And that's pretty much as far as like outreach in addition to like many collaborations that we're doing and creating new partnerships with our community organizations.
Excellent. And that's a really good reminder. Amina, there are, for any of you who have ordered banners, we do have them in stock and just at the back of the table. So when you leave for lunch or at the end of the day, make sure that you grab your orders so we don't have to ship them. Save a little bit of time.
And one more thing. Yeah. So tomorrow, when you come to me tomorrow, we'll even have more for you.
No, we won't. Excellent. For those of you who don't know, if you have a federal grant tomorrow morning, same time, same place. All right, Matt, we'll go like this, like kind of staying through the room.
I'm Matt Jackson. This is my first year at the school district. This is my first year as director of overall adult education. So, having just started in July with this job, one of the things that we're doing to increase is we've had some new community resources come in, some assisted living facilities and different things like that, shelters, and we're working very closely with them to make sure that the resources that we have are made aware to the people in the area, so trying to get that star numbers and help them as well. So.
Excellent.
I'm gonna start by sitting down, so everybody doesn't feel like they have to stand up. I'm Todd Claridge, Park City Community Education Director. What we've done, I'm gonna echo what everybody else has said, is we're reaching out actually to the community more through the Rotary clubs. Now we have 3 Rotary clubs up there, and to try to get their buy-in, you know, they're sponsoring, helping us with childcare, helping us with dinners, helping us with meals, small little pieces, grants, money that come into the program, so they actually have some buy-in, and it's a good outreach for the community and its resources. So,
I'm Amy Higgs, so I'm actually the teacher at Castlegate Education Center in Price. I'm just filling in for my director. So our program, we have increased our social media presence. We've met with our local radio station to do some spots and be coordinated with our local newspaper. We just continue to meet regularly with our community partners and share information. So,
Yep.
Jan Dooley, Washington County. We've been working on several things. We have a Burger Tuesday. On Burger Tuesday, Workforce Services, Voc Rehab, and Dixie Tech send their representatives down. We have a quick lunch with them, and then they go to work with our students, getting them signed up, applications, just putting together resources there. With corrections, we've been meeting with the sheriff and working to see if we could get post-secondary options for our graduates, so they have something to manipulate to. And so we've been working with Snow College, and that is coming together. See, with the district, Washington County School District, we work close with them. We're just invited to start attending their district office staff monthly luncheons. And so that'll give us a chance to kind of network and collaborate with them.
Thank you.
Like with Alpine, some things we've been doing this last end of the school year, we got put on a committee, the district exceptional committee, student committee, that has our alternative schools, East Shore, the online schools, youth in custody, several programs. And it really increased our visibility. We met with all the schools in two different days, breakouts, and on the district's webpage, they have lots of good documents, and there's just a lot more, good faith and fellowship, friendship between the programs, and here's the best thing for this kind of student, and we just get a lot of visibility that way. Also for other programs, I just learned of there's a lot of schools in our district that need a lot of extra support for a lot of their populations that maybe don't speak the language and things like that. I learned they have a community relations support person put in the school that helps some of these populations. And we've been working with them to get out and to start additional ESL classes and things like that out in the school and have a better focus there.
Thank you.
Nikki Johnson with Cash. We've been doing some monthly workshops with USU Extension Service and DWS, and just creating opportunities, like a better health class, workshops for resume building and interview skills.
Gina.
Gina Brover from San Juan. We've never had a logo or brand or anything that's always been in the district, which is very child centric. So we have a new logo and branding that we are using it and are having new marketing materials like that feature our students have a lot of feedback and things that our students didn't do themselves in the posters that we had, so that's in the works, but, all of our centers in our communities have, the last one was this week, and they've all had floats in all the homecoming parades in all of the little communities, so that was something kind of new and fun that they did. We're still doing radio commercials, newspaper, new presentations to board member, school board meetings, and then I've started visiting chapter house meetings for all the different chapters.
Excellent. Yeah, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea with Green River Adult Ed. We have social media. We work with our community partners. We started some new software for some more digital support with literacy, workplace skills, integrations, things like that. And then also new, we have a coordinator. So that is Brian.
Yeah, Brian Hatch, I'm the coordinator.
Happy to
I
have
just
you.
learned a lot from Andrea, I'm just happy to be here, I'm expecting to learn some today too.
Welcome over to Stacy.
Hello. Stacy Evans, I'm at Jordan in South Pike. And so a couple of things. One is I went through the website over the summer and just did some updating to that so that we have the most current information out there. And then the other is each year the school district hosts a fall family fair. And it's actually held at a center of the library in West Jordan. But anyway, they invite all kinds of programs throughout the district to come and just have a table and set up. And you put together a game so that the children are entertained because it is for families. But then you also have a chance to tell the adults about, the kids are playing their game, you tell the adults about your program. And we just started doing that last year. So that's something we're gonna keep going because, I don't know, I don't have stats on how many people we actually got, but I know that we had some great conversations. I've even had like a young adult ask on behalf of their parent. And I thought, that's really cool. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rusty Flocken, and this is my coordinator, Dorit, who's actually been doing this way longer than me. We're at Davis Adult Ed. Some of the things we've been doing lately, part of me was like, you want me to expand what? I can't handle the numbers I have, but, we've been doing a big kind of social media campaign. We have, worked with partners. We show up at community fairs. We have a community center in Clearfield that does a lot of outreach and advertising for us. We also have classes there. I also been working with Salt Lake Community College to see if we can expand a partnership there. They don't like come to Davis County. Anyway, so we might field trip there. There's just like kind of 50 different things going on at the same time.
Yeah, that's the work, right? Yeah.
I'm Alicia Lamont. I am with Nebo or Adult Education down in Spanish Fork. And bunch of the things that we're doing, we just started a whole new push this year. Social media, we're active on social media. We bring down our website. We've made it easier to use and easier to navigate. We have appeared on Finding Nebo podcast, highlighting adult education and what it's all about and how it works. We've also planned an open house for November because we're in a new location for this year. And so we're having an open house with all of our partners. We've got about 8 partners that we work with, including all of the DWS pieces, the Wasatch Behavioral Health, MTech, UBU, all of there's a couple more that we throw in there. So we have quarterly meetings with all of those partners as well, where we sit down and kind of plan through what they can do to come in and help us, as well as what we can do to push people to them as well. We want to present at school board meeting. That was one of the things that we've been talking about. We have new software in our program that helps our GED and our ELL students a little better. Let's see, what else? That's it, I think, for right now.
That's plenty. That's plenty, Guy.
Guy Gounder, Daggett School District. Pretty small, so I know all the business owners. I'm gonna make an appointment, go visit all the businesses and let them know what we're at.
Love it. Actually, Robert, I'm gonna make you come join this table and introduce yourself as you can.
As I walk up there. I'm Robert Prince. I'm with Garfield County School District. Increasing our visibility, just getting my truck out there, seeing so everybody knows where I'm at and what I'm doing. As we cover all the miles every week. I should be getting a home on the webpage this year, this fall. I haven't seen it. I don't know what it looks like. But that's about it.
That's excellent. Okay, up to Severe.
I'm Michael Effen, the director. Mark Stewart is our coordinator. He's gonna tell you what we're gonna do.
So. Cost money. And it really didn't yield any results. And so we jumped on Facebook and ignored cell site and started advertising there, and I couldn't believe the phone calls. So we just had to get creative on Facebook, just try to find where the people are. And that's been a really good way to capture people. We've also reached out to former students, but we knew didn't finish high school in a small community. We know who they are. So we'll just reach out to them and grab the low-lying fruit, the kids who are really close, and try to capture them and get them out the diploma. We're also putting up a marquee this year, so we're excited about that. We'll advertise on that as well.
Wayne Johnson, GED Adult Education. I'm the director there. The only new thing that I think of to increase visibility we've done this year is actually have our adult ed graduation in conjunction with our board meeting. And I thought that was really good. A lot of the stakeholders see our program success and in fact, from that, we've had a lot of board members, referral, a lot of people they know. So that's good.
Steve Sullivan, Northern and Feed. We do everything alternative at our school, and that includes adult ed. For our visibility, what we've done is we did add social media in the pipe for the last 2 years. We let the district do that, or for the district to let us do that. But we got that going last week. We've also been reaching out to adult rehab programs in the county and been advertising to them. And we're hopefully going to be getting quite a few. We've already had 3 enrollments so far from those, and so we've been. We also advertised at the high school parent teacher conference. We took a VR headset and showed them on software we use for the job simulators, and we had a few people sign up for that. And so that's pretty small. I don't know what else to do to reach people down there.
Oh, that's excellent. And you know what, actually just checking the time, if you'll just choose your top strategy, so we can get through faster. Because I was not anticipating all of the great things that you're doing. Like, that's really incredible. So.
I'm Lynn and Rachael. I'm with North Summit. And probably the one thing that's helped the most in visibility most recently is we've actually been going through our students and sending direct messages to their parents' homes. So our Spanish speaking students and those kinds of things, and sending specific invitations. I should put it. Okay, over to you.
Hi, I'm Amber, Guadalupe School. And Guadalupe is actually also a volunteer school, so we have a few things going on. The big thing is we're rebranding. The problem is that most people don't know there's an adult education policy, so there's a good rebranding that we have more of a voice. Few things we do to get parents of the students is back to school night. It would be great to have the parents of the students involved in the for stakeholders, we to keep them involved with you because of the volunteering. And it's the kind of honors the volunteering majorities that help us with that. So I think that helps keep those sorts of stakeholders more. Thanks, everybody. Being that though with the English Skills Learning Center, last week being welcoming weekend adult education and literacy week, we hosted or co-hosted 4 different events with the Salt Lake City Mayor's Office, the Salt Lake County State American's Office, the Governor's Office for Economic Opportunity, and our own event, which were all really amazing, resulted in some interesting media opportunities that was where they go. But yeah, just those kinds of things. On board working groups.
Hey, my name is Josh Cobell. Work at the Ogden School District, their adult education program. A unique way to advertise the program, kind of thinking about our internal customers. I got appointed to the board for the Utah Association of Secondary School Principals. And so my intentions are to reach out to all of y'all and send out an email, get your guys' feedback. It's really interesting to go to those meetings and hear like comprehensive high schools and those principals and their perspectives and how our programs what little they do know about our programs. So I think it's going to be really good to be able to share that voice and share your guys' sentiments and stories. And so be expecting an email from me. I hope they get adult education, either directors or program directors, and then the YIC program and alternative schools all represented and have a voice on that committee.
Lynn, also with Ogden and the lead teacher. Another thing that we've been doing is going into our district high schools, doing tabling events like their conferences, career night, MLL night. Help us reach a lot of parents. Excellent.
Very godly time and patient association. One thing we've done the past few years that's been really good and has been really enjoyable for our students is to reach out to Roland Hall, which is a private school close by us, and have their students come in one day and have kind of a joint class activity. They're well prepared. They have like interview questions to ask our students, or in some cases pictures or math and games, whatever they can do to reach our students. And we do this, we try to do it like 2 to 3 times a year. Last time we did it, we actually had a parent of one of the students call our director's spot and ask me and find out more about our agency. And we found out this person is a potential person friendly. So I asked Scott if we would get money, he can make capture directly. And anyway, so yeah, that's one way we would arrange for now.
Dan Dahl, South Summit School District, adult ed. And one of the things we're doing is we're working on creating a social media presence, just like others have said, in the Camas Valley.
Not through tech. And well, Provo, I guess, yeah.
I'm Nikki Wickham, the coordinator for Provo Adult Education. So I would say the one thing is that I was asked to do a presentation to the board.
I work with an EPM in charge of the English program. This is my second year on the job, so honestly, I'm just trying to make sure that I keep all the partners and partnerships that I created last year because was a year. And we're partnering with BYU University, BWS, Boys and Girls Club, Central Hispano and Provo, Utah Valley Universities, my hometown initiative in Provo. And pick up plans to improve our website as well, yeah.
Jim Tuckett with Duchesne County. And we're doing several things, but I think one of the big things right now is my adult ed teacher is going to be doing evening ELL. And she's been advertising, she has quite the connection with the community, the Hispanic community. And so as she's been putting up posters for that, she's also been putting up posters for the adult ed program at the same time. So we have them at DWS and different places throughout the town, and even in the outlying communities like the Shannon and Altamont and the White tribes. So,
Pam, Emma Dawkins, went to the school district, I'm at Ashland County Education Center, which is the alternative school in the adult ed. The main thing we do to outreach that's pretty simple is every month we have our student coordination council meeting. At that meeting, we have our WEA representative from DWS, we have our VR representative who works with students at our school. We have our school therapist, counselor, the technical college representative who helps our students particularly. And we meet and go through every student. If you're an adult ed student and you're with any of those entities, you're on the list. Same with every special ed student in our school, because we now have a special ed teacher. So she comes to those meetings and we discuss those students as well as any of the alternative high school students for me. And we every month go through every student and we coordinate their plan. And things we do is we realize we have a lot of ESL students in our district. So we started taking adult education planners to every school in our office. I'm starting to meet with the high school council. We'll see how that goes. Stay tuned.
Mandy McKay, UNA School District, and to add on to what Anna had shared, our community likes carnivals. I don't know why. So anyway, we set up a booth. We're at USU, we're at UNA High School, we're at UP Tech, we're in an education one, and we're in a big one at the park. And so we set up a booth, we hand out flyers, we communicate with the community and other people that are coming through, other booth people. And so we see the faces of all the same people almost once a month. We love carnivals. Don't do that.
Back to Entrada.
Tell us about the carnival idea. I'm Mark from Entrada. A lot of the things that people are doing here. Also, we have a counselor from Alden High School that helps us like that, what they're doing. I think one of the things too that we do, I get on the listservs for the administrators and always stuff going on. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it's always like, how does adult ed fit in the district? So I don't want to apologize for trying to include my school age students in with stuff. So like 2 years ago, we had our first student compete in the science fair and actually won at the school level and went to the state level. We're competing in this year's film festival that the school does. We had our first scholarship winner in the school district last year with one of our students. So just trying to make sure that the district knows that we exist by making, and you know, our students who are school age could participate in these things.
Victor, Amy District in High School, and Margaret doing such a good job that our biggest problem is space. But our
I can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. Our district is recognizing the efforts Mark is making, and they are doing an innovation center. They're actually the second program that they have chosen to join that innovation center.
So, you know, everything that Mark has done with social media and advertising is really, really paying off. Looking toward the future, we're partnering with our federal and state programs department, meeting with them, trying to get our information in front of them because they do a good job of supporting K-12 kids, but not so much, we're not seeing the effects in parents. So we definitely need the parents of those kids to know about our program. So that's our next thing that we're looking at doing.
Chris Sullivan, Utah State Correctional Facility. Despite my numerous requests to corrections, they will not let me put up a marquee and advertise. So we've done the next best thing. So what we've done this year is we've actually partnered with their social media team. They've come out and started filming just some outtakes in the classrooms and teachers. We're actually going to put some advertisements together and we're going to start putting those ads together and showing them in the housing units to see if we can drum up business a little bit quicker than word of mouth, because word of mouth has been great, but that ought to work a little bit quicker.
Randy Rasmussen, Box Elder, Adult Ed Program. Nothing that hasn't been mentioned, but thank you for letting me steal your ideas.
I'm Thomas Burr from Emory County School District Adult Ed. One thing we're doing to increase visibility is we've secured partnerships with all of our local libraries, and they've become kind of little adult ed hubs where students can go work on their online courses and do any of the testing that they need to do, and it's working out great.
Rob Wagner with Iron County, and one of the things unique about us is we are in the workforce service building, and so we refer each other. Anybody that comes in that building either gets referred to us or we refer them to them. So we're working hand in hand. Plus, we also have a partnership with high schools that they refer every student over to. I'm over there in online programs, and so they refer any student that's on the dropout possibility to us, and then we put them either with one of these two programs working with that. So we try to catch every student to get them at least educated on adult education as a possibility for them.
Jim Wood, Kane District. We've done some presentations for our board and got them on board. Our superintendent put a big article in the paper. We've got social media. We do community outreach in some of our FLDS communities, which is where we get a lot of our students from. So that's been good. And, like I said, business.
Jim Wiskin with Morgan and Rich counties. I was a former high school counselor, so I spent lots of time in counselors, in most schools to help, find who needs my help and who are potential candidates for adult ed.
Russell Carter, Beaver County School District. One thing our district's doing this year is all the schools and myself, we wanted to let the people know all the good things that are happening in our schools. So we're trying to get any positives out there that's going on in any of our schools or adult ed. So we're trying to get them out there, the good things that are happening, so people know they were good. They were doing good things.
And get rid of the negative perceptions a little bit. And just a little more, save the best for last.
Steve Roberts, I'm in the South Sanpete School District and Central Utah Correctional Facility. A couple of things we're doing is we're working closely with Job Force Services to interject anybody they have come in if they have any students that can be involved with this. I'm also highly involved with both counselors for both high schools. And we have an ongoing shared list of every student that's dropped out in the last 10 years. And we just start from the beginning and we call down the list and invite them to come out.
Tina Finlandson with Miller School District. Probably one of the biggest things that we're doing is also setting up meetings with our school counselors, and one of our adult ed representatives is with the meetings at the high school when the counselors are talking to students who don't want to finish high school so that they know they have a different option. And also just working with our partners, both rehab and DWS and Iowa.
I do. My name's Dave Baddigan. I'm with Granite. I'm Peaks with the Granite School District. This is Kathleen Carter, our coordinator, who, if you've worked in any of, or had students that are joining us as part of our dual emergent programs, she's the one that you work with. A couple of things that we're doing that we're really excited about is we just secured with local business foundations and some organizations the ability to pay for our GED testing for the next year. We provide all of our students who are in our classes practice tests, and then also the GED first time attempt their test. And for those students, so for those of you that have students that join us remotely, they also will participate in that program. Also, like Martin said, in some of the bigger districts where the K-12 programs hardly have any idea what we do. We've got right now a pilot program at Granger High School that's supporting our West Side schools, where we have a teacher there that's working with students that are unlikely to graduate, that are so credit deficient they probably won't get through, that are taking classes with him right now in preparation for the GED, where they're earning elective credit while they're in that class. If they don't make it, of course, as that year goes on, then they'll exempt and hopefully at that point be prepared where Granger High School is even gonna let them walk with them at graduation if we can get them done this year. So a couple things.
That's awesome. You guys are awesome. Not even thinking of amazing stuff. That's why I like being with you, because I'm always like, amazing. All right, so now we're gonna get down and dirty. We have a full agenda today. I always pack too much in. It's the same thing today, so we're gonna cruise through some stuff in the morning, like for a few minutes, and then most of the day you'll be interacting with each other, so. I went backwards. Yes, I did. Okay, just a couple of reminders of upcoming events. Next Tuesday here at this location right here is our ELA Summit. We're super excited to have contracted with Jen Christensen to provide instruction, training on how to help low literacy English language learners. So if you haven't signed up for that, you have an English language acquisition program, this will be a really great training. Super excited about that. She'll also be coming back to lead the ELA study circle that goes from January to March. So watch for that as well. Our fall conference, we're super excited for our fall conference. The session proposals, I think were the best that I've seen. Like every single one, we're like, wow, these are really incredible. Super excited for that. It is a day and a half. So the first day we'll spend some time breaking out in according to role. Well, we'll have our keynote speaker, so come for the keynote. Then we'll break out according to roles and then according to size.
Program presentation.
And do program presentations that first day. You can stay for some dinner and social activity that evening. And then the next day will be more of a typical conference with our sessions, and then we'll end with a student panel. So it will be a really great event. I think it's free and we will be providing food. So come and enjoy.
Where is that at?
It'll be at the Nebo Summit Center, so in Springville. So there's a little bit of. There's not tons at Springville. Alicia could probably tell you better, but you might want to go to Spanish Fork or South Provo.
There's one.
You have a microtel. A microtel. There's a microtel. And I think there's a Holiday Inn and Express.
I have room in my basement. Yeah, North End, it's Holiday Inn. Spanish Fork.
So I mean, so there's some options. But also like South Provo is not very far, like if you're in South University, that's not very far from it.
Right there.
So, you know, look around. I went ahead and went forward. So we're also excited for our Corrections Education Summer. Sorry, you guys, they're like all jam packed together. Anyway, the Corrections Education Summit will be November 4th at the Jordan Training Center. Again, really excited for that. We'll have it'll be more of a typical conference with breakout sessions. Lunch is provided and it's free. So some exciting things coming up. Okay, so if you've been in a desk monitoring session this month, hopefully you've heard about our program guarantees. So what we always do at the state level as a team is take a day during the summer to like do some strategic planning. And this summer, what we did was outline what like kind of the base minimum of a good program would be. So the program guarantees are that. If you read through them, it will say, you know, this is the base minimum. They're aligned with the program review instrument and with the risk assessment. So we're assessing programs on this, you know, guarantee list. So if you can, pull them up for a second. I'm just going to give you like 3 minutes, not very long. Quickly like browse over them and tell me if you notice anything. Any noticings or thoughts, reflections? I mean, they're fairly basic. I don't know, if you read them, this is my own curiosity, are you overwhelmed? are like, no, feel better about life, like I'm doing most of those.
It's all reasonable.
And, you know, it could be like perhaps a good check every now and then to go through and say like, how are we doing? Again, we're trying to align our work, right? So if you see these other places, that's intentional. We want you to see them in other places, right? Okay. We're gonna keep going then. These are backwards, so I can't ever remember when I confuse myself. Okay, so if I say partner referral system, what comes to mind? DWS, okay.
High schools.
High schools? How many of you guys have access to the partner referral system?
I think I do. Are you talking about the one that EWS has?
It is, yes. I am talking about, your answer was right. This partner referral system is through the Department of Workforce Services, and it's actually on like their website, right? As part of, you have to have access to get on.
We're finding that, and we've talked to our DWS reps about it, that it's not working for us. It's not going through to their system, and they told us to not use that, to just go ahead and old fashioned, make a phone call, or hand off. So that's what we're doing.
Well, that's good to know.
I don't know
So
if
I
that's
can
a
carry
whole
that back.
system thing or what, but it is not.
At the same
Yeah,
time.
I like a warm handoff anyway.
I mean, definitely, yes. And I would say from my perspective, like, even you should still put them in, but like, that shouldn't be your primary way of referring. It should always be a warm handoff. But this is, if it works, it's supposed to be tracking like back end to make sure how many referrals are coming through and stuff. If you don't know what the partner referral system is, or you don't have access, I would strongly encourage you to go to your Department of Workforce Services contact and ask them about the community liaison, who is the person who will give you access to that system. Just a reminder. This is not a new thing, but it's easy to get lost, I think. And with turnover at DWS and with adult education, just a reminder that all of you should be using it. And if you do experience problems and it's not getting resolved through the DWS side, come back to me, because then I can help push it from my end as well. Okay. All right, so if you're looking at the document, is the same for everyone, you'll see that it's a lot more complex this time. Because there's more options. So if you're high risk, then that means if you look at this one, if there's an HR by you on the other document, then when you look at this one, it's going to be red on the first colored line, not the second. That means that when you use the risk assessment, you came up as high risk. If there's a T in your column, then that means that it's just been 3 years and it's your turn. Doesn't matter whether you were or not high risk. You're gonna have a program review. That, if you have a T, it will be a full program review. There's no choice. We will be there. We will do the file audit. We will go through the program review instrument. And that's just gonna happen. But if you're an HR and you're high risk, you actually have the choice, unless you're also T, you have the choice to engage in the retention cohort. So we've had a focus on retention for a while, right? But using just percentages this time, I mean, in the past, I think in the risk assessment, we were assessing somewhat based on like where you fall in the state. And now we're just saying, hey, again, this is kind of a base. And if you're not meeting this base, then we want to have a further conversation about retention. So if there's an R, then you automatically are going to participate in the retention cohort. But if you're an HR, instead of doing a full program review, you can opt to participate in the retention cohort. We will still come on site to do a file audit because that's part of it. But you don't have to do the instrument necessarily. I'll have a conversation probably just via email, but maybe phone, with each of you who are HR on whether you would like to do a retention cohort, or if you would like to do the full program review, or if you would like to do both, because it's like totally optional. This retention cohort is available to everyone. You don't have to be high risk or come up on our retention assessment to participate. Basically, what's going to happen in this retention cohort is we're going to do an assessment. We're going to go through some best practices on retention types of issues, and then you're going to come up with a plan, and we're going to follow up on it, right? Like, so in a cohort kind of situation where you're talking to each other about your experiences and what that looks like. The first one will be in person, but the other two will be just virtually. Again, based on coming up with your own plan on how to increase your retention. So, yes.
January 14th is a Tuesday, that's a Monday.
Well,
Do you know which one it's gonna be, Monday or the Tuesday?
probably,
I'll check.
no, but I will get back to you. One of those, Monday or Tuesday. I probably went back and forth a bazillion times trying to figure out. Are these ones right at least? I mean, let me look at my, and I can tell you right now.
Okay, so I think it's gonna be Monday 13th, because there's
Stuff on
a
Tuesday.
leadership something on.
So it should be Monday, January 13th, my bad. Thanks for catching my mistakes. And I'll correct that before we send it out. Anyway, so this is your opportunity to think about it. Any questions just about like what the risk assessment is saying? And we can have further conversations in our desk monitoring about your individual risk assessment, like what you're seeing, what that means. But anyway, yeah, any questions about the whole process? Okay. It's just really slow to respond. Okay, so this is like not because we have a massive problem with this, but again, just setting expectations. This is really just setting expectations, like y'all are here, so thank you. That shows, you know, you don't have a huge issue, but we did create a document. Just when we say technical assistance, those really are a way of saying like our desk monitoring meetings. So there is an expectation that you participate in desk monitoring meetings and that you respond when we reach out to schedule those, and that you don't, you know, randomly miss them. It's a pretty base expectation. And the expectation comes back on us too, like that we're not going to randomly miss them and that we're going to reach out to you, right? Like it goes both ways. So anyway, if we have an issue, we have outlined kind of like what that will look like moving forward. And, you know, if we can't, you're skipping desk monitoring meetings all the time, or we can't ever get a hold of you, then kind of what the next step is going to be. That's what that document is. And just throwing it out there as kind of expectations, setting expectations. Again, not because we have this huge problem, and like you guys are awesome. So we appreciate and we enjoy working with you. Okay, so those of you who have already finished your National Reporting System training for the year might have noticed that there is an addition to an MSG. What? Yeah. So we just wanted to talk about that. There's actually 2 changes to the measurable skill gains that happened like while we were at NRS training in June. The email came out, which was really fun, right? There are 3 cohorts. We just happened to be the lucky cohort that was like, oh, we're like trying to figure this out while we're talking to y'all. Anyway, okay, so let's just talk about measurable skill gains in general. There are many types of measurable skill gains, right? First of all, there's an educational functioning level gain skill or measurable skill gain. But that's like the overall broad category. Underneath that is the one that we typically use the most, pre-post test academic level gains. That's pretty solid. And when we say like, that's what we use the most, I don't have the percentages, but probably like 90%, I don't know, 75%, like it's high. Most of our measurables, Adam will tell us in a second. Most of our measurable skill gains come from pre-post tests. If the student doesn't have any measurable skill gains from a pre-post test, and if the student has earned 6 credits at the end of the, by the end of the school year, and that's probably all. And if
70% of our students
70%.
earn, well, you mean pre-post or just
Pre-post.
EFL games?
No
in general?
pre-post. So it might be a little bit less. We don't.
A little bit less.
Anyway, we don't have very many. There is opportunity to get, oh, I know what the third one is. And if they still have about 6 more credits to go, then they can get a Carnegie unit measurable skill gain, but they have to earn 6 credits in a school year.
Oh, there's a lot of stipulations for that one.
Yeah, it's really small, but we do pick up a few every year. 1C is still under that educational functioning level gain, measurable skill gain, is post-secondary education. Before June, that was if they enrolled post-exit in post-secondary. But now they took off the after exit. And so now if a student is enrolled in post-secondary as after they're enrolled in adult education, so if they actually were like already enrolled in a vocational like technical college training, when they enrolled in adult education, that wouldn't count. But if they enroll in adult education and that next day enroll in post-secondary, then it counts as a measurable skill gain. So for those of you who are doing like IET integrated education and training programs or some other kind of training programs, that's like an easy way to get a measurable skill gain. That also is not a huge percentage of our measurable skill gains, but is another option. And it's a little easier now. So that was one change. And then the most significant one is that if a student passes a GED subtest, then they get a measurable skill gain. That would be, in my opinion, similar to the Carnegie credit unit, right? It's just showing progress towards the ultimate. Yeah.
It's just one subtest or all 4?
No, they just have to pass one. Yeah. This allows us to show more measurable skill gains, but it should never be our sole goal to get a student to pass one subtest. Because for them, it's not really fun, right? That's not the end goal. Our end goal is really like to get them to college or to get them a better job, right? Like it's way further down than even a diploma. So the subtest, yes, is a way of showing progress, but should never be how we structure our program to grab those. Any questions about that?
For the GED subtest, how do we report or?
You don't.
The automatic?
I do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Thanks,
all
Adam.
data match.
Right.
Very rarely should you be, my direction on this is that very, very rarely should you ever be entering a GED accomplishment. We do that all data matching. We have access to all of that. Should you be monitoring to make sure it comes up? Yes. And if you don't see it, then let us know, because then that probably is a larger problem that we need to be dealing with statewide. But generally, those are just data matched.
Yes, the data match happens. The data match happens nightly. It does do it automatically. And if you do not see it, please let me know, because we have ran into a couple that just don't seem to data match. So we do it based on the GED ID. If that's 100%, if that's matched, I don't even show it up on you guys' approvals. SSNs, last names, first names, if those all match, then I'll do it as well. But if we can't match it, then it'll show up on your approvals. But again, this one specifically, we're gonna just run it in the back end.
So will it show, when we look at a student's home screen, will it show like the little check mark that they have a gain?
Yes. Yep, it will show that they have an MSG gain. I'm gonna probably play with it now that there are 4 different MSGs that you can earn in the CFL game. I'll probably break it out so that you can identify exactly which one that they earned. You can run a table 4A. This information, in fact, I was unaware until yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon that we are reporting GED subtests as an individual. I knew we were reporting them as an MSG this year. I just wasn't aware that I was reporting them. And so now I have it, and now I'm running, as of this year, if I can pull it, 794 students this year have passed at least one.
But not the total.
But not, I don't know. With the way 4A works to simply say that you have an MSG EFL. It doesn't say that that is what your MSG for the year is, which is what's reported on table 4. It simply says that is, so I have 794 students that either this is an additional gain for them, or we are now capturing this, and so they'll add to our whole total. So.
Yeah.
Not gonna show up on our demonstrative effectiveness like in a year and a half. I know it's way down the road.
No, no, it does not. Those demonstrated effectiveness pieces are in law. And so we are taking that out, and the law itself hasn't changed. This is just another way of
It's
reporting.
just more, okay. So,
Yeah, so no, it'll still be based on English or like reading app and. Yeah. Other questions? Just wanted heads up. All right, so, wow, we went through that pretty fast. I think oh no, we're still behind. So today we're focusing on this first state goal, increase student retention and engagement through intentional program design, and specifically the intentional program design part. So today we're gonna, and you know, I know you guys are all excellent program directors, which means that you're hecka busy and doing, like Marcy was saying, 50 million things all at once that you're trying to juggle. So, you know, this summer I had the opportunity to go to Whistler, British Columbia with my son and my husband, and they were riding the very scary, in my opinion, downhill bike trails that I did not participate in because I would have killed myself. And so while they did that, I had the opportunity to take a day in a beautiful location, sitting outside and reflecting and reading a book about leadership and thinking about like my practice individually. And it was very rejuvenating, right? And I think and it got me excited to be like a leader again, right? Sometimes it just feels heavy. I think too many times we don't get the chance to sit and reflect on our practice and like where we want to go and what we want to do. So the purpose of today is to give you that space with a lot of really smart, accomplished people in the room with you to bounce ideas off and reflect on how you can intentionally design your program to build retention and student engagement. That's the purpose of today. So what we did was we broke it down into 5 different components. The intake process, we're looking specifically at the intake process. We broke it down into 5 different components. And so what we're going to do, it'll follow this pattern throughout the day for each component. State staff will come and present a little bit about the component, and then you'll have an opportunity we'll have some discussion questions to discuss as a group, and then kind of, right? We talk, they talk. I'm missing a piece, I feel like. Anyway. We talk, you talk. And then, and then we have a reflection piece. Yeah. Yes, and then you reflect individually. So, sorry, are you no. Like it's, this is our little like note-taking piece that you can use if you want, or you don't have to. We'll go through that for each component. At the end, you'll have a time to like kind of pull together your thoughts for 5 or 10 minutes. And then we'll have like a feedback protocol where you'll be in groups of 3. So just so you understand like how the day is going to go. you don't have to remember this because we'll go over it again, but you'll be in groups of 3. You'll present like what you got from the day. And the people with you will have a chance to ask you questions for clarification and then provide you feedback. And we're hopefully have a couple of students who will come in and give their perspective from a student viewpoint as well. And that's kind of like what we'll do through the day. So for this very first one, you'll see on the tables that there are tents, table tents that say large, medium, and small. Some of you are kind of self-selected. This is just by selection, but I think for this first one, it will make more sense to be with at least similarly sized programs. So if you're not appropriately placed at a table according to your size, will you just stand up and relocate to the appropriately sized table and do a little bit of shuffle?
All right, friends, I know we're excited, as I said with our colleagues, and we're gonna give you lots of time to talk today. But we want to get started a little bit. So the first section that we're looking at in the process of intake is sharing program information. So I think of what a lot of us think of as orientation night. How are we setting expectations for students? And so thinking about this, go backwards too. Kind of thinking about what is the student feeling like in that moment when they walk in. They've made the decision, they've reached out, it's something they want. That doesn't mean it's not terrifying, right? And I thought we all experience that as adults. The job interview, standing and presenting in front of a whole bunch of my colleagues. There's lots of times when things just feel a little bit intimidating and out of place. And so I was thinking about what's a situation where I had that feeling and could put myself into a student's shoes, and was thinking about a few years ago when I got LASIK. So this was something that I had thought about for many years. I've been told, put it off until you're done having kids because that can impact your eyesight. So I've been thinking about it for quite some time. I'd met with my doctor. I knew I was a good candidate, made the appointments, go in for the consultation, but I'm still a little bit nervous, right? I'm thinking, I haven't been to this building before. I don't know where I'm going. How much is this gonna cost? Am I gonna have to take time off work? Who's gonna be able to pick me up and take me to this procedure? Who's gonna watch my kids when I do that? Is it gonna hurt? And also, like, I know you've done this 100,000 times, but is it gonna be the one time when somebody like stubs their toe on the machine and I accidentally go blind? Like, so just a little insight to Danielle's intrusive thoughts. But I got there and I walk in and it smells like snickerdoodles and they've got calming music going and somebody's there to greet you and they walk you through and explain all of your test results. And so by the time I left that consultation, I knew what my next steps were. I was feeling really good. And they did a great job of making me feel comfortable. Came back for the procedure, which I think is kind of like coming back for COSA's testing day. You know, like this is the scary part. I have to come back and do the thing. But again, did a lot to put me at ease. Drugs helped, but also walked away knowing what my follow-up appointment looked like, what my care instructions were. And they gave me like a cute little goodie bag with a bunch of chocolate and like adorable socks. This is my visual aid for the day. I have no idea what socks have to do with vision, but I still wear them like 7 years later. So it was an effective strategy. So that was my positive experience where I was nervous going in, but they did all the things. They did all the things to make sure that I was comfortable. And it was a life-changing experience. I had a little celebration where we threw away the contact solution and donated the frames and like said goodbye to the past. So that was really positive. But if I tell you a good story, I have to tell you a bad story, right? So the other example that I had was we had, I'll say in the kind of medical realm, a chiropractor open up in our area. And they had a special going. They were like, you can come in and do adjustment and we'll do a body scan and foot detox and red light therapy. And we have this whole package and it's like $70 because we just opened up. I'm like, sure, that sounds great. A little R&R. So go in, the appointment was fine. very kind of clinical though, like they walk you from one thing to another, like here's your foot back, set your timer, be back in 15 minutes. And go through all of the different things and get to the last thing which is the consultation with the doctor. So he comes in and says, well, obviously, based on your BMI, you're in the obese range. And, unhealthy diet and lack of exercise really elevates your risk of heart attack and stroke. You've got a lot of visceral fat around your organs, but we have this program where you can come in and do a series of treatments, and there's meal replacement, and it's only going to be like $3,000 for this 6-month package, but we're going to get you bikini ready. Like, oh, buddy. This is not why I'm here today, right? Like, you misunderstood my goals. You made judgments about my lifestyle. You insulted me. You used threats, scare tactics here, and then you asked me for money. Like, thank you, goodbye. I'm not ever coming back. And I wonder if there are times that our students feel that way, that it's just like, oh, that was a whole lot of information that I was not prepared for, and you didn't really understand why I came in today, and I'm maybe gonna just not come back. So getting back into our realm and what we do working with students, I want you to think about what we do to create that warm, welcoming environment. Is our program easy to find? We have beautiful banners for you to take back for those of you that ordered them. I loved hearing some of the things that you said about updating websites and being on social media and out in the communities. Do they know who we are and how to do this? Once they're in the facility, does it feel inviting? Do they know where to go? How are they greeted? Do we have any student handbooks or handouts and things to kind of guide them through the process? Do they know what their next steps are? Just thinking about that transparent communication. The more upfront we are, it's going to help to reduce their fear and anxiety and start to foster trust. We all know that the relationships are so important, and it starts from that initial impression. And also making sure that students have all of the tools that they need. So if it's course schedules, if we have attendance expectations, we want to make sure we're sharing those with students, let them know what support services are available, what partners we're working with. If we want our students to make informed decisions, we have to inform them. And then just finally kind of summarizing what we know about trauma-informed teaching and healing-centered environments is that you have to have that combination of being warm and welcoming, but also providing high structure. So if you have the warmth, but the structure isn't there, it becomes unpredictable. And that can also put students at unease. Also, if you have the structure without the warmth, then it's a place that nobody wants to be. So it's finding that balance of how do we have high warmth and high structure to be able to support students, let them know this is going to be a good place for you. So that is Danielle's rambling and soapbox for the moment. We've got some discussion prompts for you as you talk in your groups. So I want you to think about what information do students need to know and how are we getting it to them? How do we know that they're going to understand and retain that information? How are we setting expectations? And how do we create a warm and welcoming environment? So we're going to do 20. Let's do 15 and let you guys kind of just discuss that amongst yourselves, and then we'll take a couple of minutes afterwards where you can reflect on the conversations that you've had and any ideas that you want to take back into your group.
Welcome back. Have shared with you some good ideas about information sharing and setting expectations. Again, we're breaking this down into 5 components. So some of your conversations might overlap, but also we're hoping that you'll stand up and move around a little bit too, so you're not talking to the same people the whole time. Okay. this next component is assessments. Is it better to move now or after I talk? What do you think? Let's move now. So if you do tape, most of you can stay where you're at if you want to, but if you're a tape tester, then back in the back with Andrea. If you do best testing where Jeff is sitting, that's the table. So best tape. All right, let's talk for a minute about a couple of different things. These are more policy and not theoretical. Sorry, I'm not any fun. Let's talk about low-level screening for steps. So what happens if a student comes in and you know pretty immediately that they speak like zero English? What are the processes that you go through for those students? Yeah, Dries.
So if we've screened them, we've kind of watched them fill out their forms or have someone help them. If we screen them orally, and we're appropriate, giving them a written screening, which is really essential for that placement. And it's going to be a situation where they're just gonna suffer. Then what we do is we give them the lowest possible score. We make a note in UASIS saying they were unable to test, and that becomes their baseline. And then they don't suffer. We may do that, they may be okay on the reading, but we feel like they can't do that for listening. Or we feel like they can do the picture part of the listening, and then we will score that, and that becomes their baseline, which is probably one of those scores that, so that's what we do.
Yeah, anybody else have other practices for those who are just coming in super low? Yeah.
Well, we're very lucky that we have teachers that speak so many different languages, from Farsi, Arabic, Russian, and then so many Spanish speakers that they often will help give those individuals initial advice on what to do when they're in there. But that's one thing, Sept, I was just gonna mention, we've had a huge problem though with our really low students wanting to use their phones lately.
Oh, yeah.
During the test. Yeah.
Turn it off, OFF off, off. I don't know, off. But you really, once the test is done, you can do nothing. You can't say anything to them. So if they're really that low, then it's just trauma.
Yeah, my understanding was that if they're really that low, then giving them the test.
It's just a traumatic experience. And we're talking about a warm and inviting, and I mean, you're still gonna have to test most of them, and that's not warm and inviting in any way. But it doesn't need to be traumatizing.
Yeah, minimize the trauma for sure.
We also have an immersion learner class for those that really test into this level. And what's really neat is we use Jennifer Christensen's ABC screeners. And what we do is we teach the students how to take Americanized testing, because so many students come from so many different countries and their testing is so different. So we teach them in there, it's okay to take a test and this is how we take it. We do practice listening tests. We do practice reading tests with steps. CASAS has a great list of practice stuff.
Yeah.
And so by the time they make it to us with a post-testing session, they've already been exposed to it so many times that it's, oh, hello, old friend, back again. And many of the teachers, it is a warm thing, and many of our students still get very nervous about it. But as soon as they turn it into common culture in that class, it's really helped out so much.
That's such a great idea. And then they may only make, 4 or 5 point gains. And we make a big deal about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent. You're doing great.
Well, I just wanted to highlight that there is actually a formalized intake screening process for low-level ELLs for CASAS, and this is a hot link. So again, when you get the the PowerPoint and click on it and read that process.
Can I just make one more comment?
Yes, please.
So just we've just done bundles of steps testing. And if they are here, incorrectly placed into the level A test, you're gonna have some inaccuracy on those tests, and then the next test is likely to be inaccurate, and the next test, so you're giving them 3 tests, which is just not good. So it's very important to do the written screening, as well as the oral screening on that, so that you get them into the correct test. And a lot of people are not doing the written screening, and that can make a difference. Some people cannot listen and speak, but they've been reading English for all their lives for a little bit. So it's important to do both pieces.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because just because you can speak doesn't mean you can read, or just because you can read doesn't mean you can speak. Yeah.
We've been doing very similar things that I'm hearing here, but while the 27-28 is still approved, we're still using that on our refrigerator population. We also have the early, which is an in-house assessment that we built with linguistics several years ago to capture incremental literacy gains. Because this is the majority of our student population, so we just have a specialized pathway for that. But we also spent July building down the test prep for especially the steps listening, because that was new to a lot of our student populations. So we have a wealth of test prep materials that we're helping you push out as we just throwing that out there. Those should be on our website in the next few months, so anybody can send to it. Very nice. We're gonna do more. A lot of clippings. We should be. Yes, and you just send this to the state. Yeah. You can also versus everyone like, hey, yeah, they stop asking about it. I like you. Yeah. And I guess just we've been doing reporting this time, right? All of our federal reports are due on October 1st. And we were just entering, oh, he's not there anymore. Oh, he's back there. Anyway, we were just doing entering some of the numbers last night. We have 14,669 students that show up, reportable students that show up on table 4 for last year. And of those, like 59 something are ELL students. I don't remember the last 2 numbers, but 5,900-ish, right? Almost 6,000 are students, which is not quite 50%, right? But we're edging up there, and everybody's still saying their waiting list, and right, like I imagine that will continue this year, and then we'll see what happens after the election. For now, so do so many things, right? But anyway, so this is of concern. I guess I'm just using those numbers to like. A lot of our students right now are English language learners, and being aware of like this different process. If they're really low, yeah, don't give them the test, but there is this process that's formalized and standardized that you should be using. And from our perspective as a state, like if you click on this link, what it doesn't tell you is what to do on UASIS to record that. And so I'm telling you what to do in UASIS to record that. You'll do what Dory said, right? Put in the lowest numbers for reading and listening. So you're still, and make a note in your documents why you did that. So you're still recording it as a test. There was an assessment, but it's not going to be like the full assessment, if that makes sense. Any questions there?
And then does that count as a pre-test? So later on, when they test, then that would count as a post-test funds.
And you can actually enter that into Top's Pro. Or so that you will automatically get the right test when if you're doing an e-test. So need help with that.
Yeah, Therese is our resident CASAS, our state CASAS expert. Like she's legit our CASAS expert. So designated by them. So if you have a question, she would know better actually than Danielle or I or
so
on that.
when we enter that score, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. we enter that score so that when they do a post-test, they're not starting from the beginning. It's like,
They're not gonna be given a locator, or they're not going to, you know, you could just put them in level A. And it will give them, it will automatically give them 621 listening and 621 reading, so you really, you know how to do it that way. Because they won't get a locator, you're just gonna put them in level A, and they don't have a previous test, so it doesn't matter which one they get. They wouldn't really have to do that. You just put them in the level A sessions.
So, this has only happened like once or twice, but is there any similar thing for ABE people where they tested so low they didn't? I've only that's kind of happened like once or twice, but if, I mean, I would say to do this similar thing, if it's obvious that they can't read. Or, but then I guess what I'm saying is then so they don't really have a pretest, you know? Yeah, sure. So I think it would be a similar process, but I'll look and see. I actually don't know. There's a question.
I'm actually having the opposite, because this used to be a thing for me a lot more. But it seems like the cost of tests I have now, like I'm getting fewer students testing level 1 that I would have guessed level 1 and 2. As like it seems like I'm seeing a score of like maybe 1 higher than, I don't know if other people that are doing the COSIS ESL tests are seeing the same thing, but are you guys seeing that? Like,
Steps that
I just, and it's, I don't have like empirical data, but like, and just in talking to my testers, it just seems that like, it used to be I had a whole lot more people testing into level 1 than I've had, and it just might be a demographics issue, but even when I talk to the students, I would have guessed they're for sure level 1, but they're testing level 2, you know, instead. Are you guys seeing that at all, or? I don't know that much. I don't ever do that.
Alignment, I mean, people's reading and listening scores. People who are like very high listening, speaking proficiency or or the which is so it's really which is new for us lately too. Like people really high reading and writing. So
Can you say that again?
Did you say that again? Sorry. Oh, fine. Sorry. No, we were just talking about the difference that we're seeing in student population. I know we're seeing a lot more people coming in with higher reading and writing skills and lower listening. Okay. So maybe in a general conversation with them, you're going to pick up on their reading and writing skills where that's going to.
That's what it is.
So we're seeing that with a lot of like international professionals where they know how to take the test, they know how to use context clues, they know how to like multiple choice their way through the test. Where they're speaking and listening is by as high.
So are you placing them in the lower, or what are you doing?
Okay, I'm gonna, sorry.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later.
Talk all about assessment in a minute. Although, if we don't hurry up, not very many minutes. This is a reminder about alternate forms that you need to be giving different forms every time you test. So it can be if you're on tape 11, then you go to 12, a 27, and then a 28, or right? It's like you're alternating every time it's a different test.
And there's also a limit to that, so at least process. You only give 1 form twice in a school year. So keep that in mind so that you're not over testing and.
Yeah, you shouldn't. That means you could get 4 tests in the same year.
You could get 4 tests, right? But
That's,
if you're testing
on a level game, and if you're testing a lot,
testing every 40 hours, then they've got an intensive program there. They might be not.
Yeah, you probably just should not. If you have an intensive program, you probably shouldn't shoot 40 hours.
Yeah. So we're
push it out a little bit. Yeah. Just a reminder that what we have seen this year and probably in other years too, but is that if a student's returning and your process is that everybody, let's say tape, because those numbers are easy. Your process is always test on an 11 when you're starting at the beginning of the year, right? But if you have a returning student whose last test was the pre-test last year and the top is still open, that 11 is not the correct form. And now you have an invalid test. So you need to be checking your returning students to make sure that the last test is not the same test that you're gonna give them again this year. Does that make sense?
If the period of participation is over.
Yeah.
And the student returns, does it reset that or do they still have to?
Yeah, it resets if the period of participation is over. Then it doesn't matter, you can restart.
The electronic tests do that automatically, Marcia.
Okay, yes, electronic test should do that for you. However, if it doesn't, you can overwrite it. Make sure you overwrite it because UASIS will not let you enter a duplicated test. It will not let you enter the same form twice. There is no override. There is no nothing. I've been asked that probably a half a dozen times. Can I override this on what it is? No. It's an invalid test due to all testing protocols. Like, it's not just a CASAS thing. It's not a TAPE thing. Every one of our NRS approved tests must, BEST, I think, is the only one that you don't have to because it's only B, C, and D. BEST doesn't automatically switch you, but the other two, you will not be able to put the same form in twice in a row. It will prevent you and there's no override.
So really, if you're getting it so you can't enter the test, double check and say like, oh, that's because this is an invalid test. And that's why. But preferably you check that before you test the student, so you're not giving them two tests, right? Anyway, that's just a reminder. Also, math goals expired this year. So if you gave any students a math goals test this year, and you can't enter it into UASIS, it's because it's not a valid test anymore. You're gonna have to retest in math goals too. And a reminder that we're gonna be in the same place next year because reading goals expires at the end of this year. So it'll be the same thing at the beginning of next year. Have to start over with reading goals 2 or whatever the new version is that will be approved by then.
Yeah, because that's what
Any questions about that?
Reading goals haven't been approved yet. We don't lose it.
No, I'm sure it's been submitted, but there's been no like. So reading goals is good as here. Okay, so this is, we asked a question of NRS and actually
They were still weak.
what is that? Something that italics. Thank you. The italicized words are their reply voting, okay? So if a student was pre and post tested using math goals last year and their POP continued into this year and the student was pre-tested using math goals 2.0, then they say the first scenario would appear to be the result of poor planning and assessment administration. Those students should be pre-tested with an expiring assessment within 4 to 6 months of the expiration date. So again, keep that in mind for reading. You want to like be cognizant of that and not give a reading test right before it expires. Scenario 2, the student was pre and post tested within the same POP using process reading, and this really can be for any 2 different series, it doesn't matter. For an example, and then moved to a different program and was pre-tested on tape reading. They said the second scenario would appear to be the result of poor transition coordination between programs. The receiving program should determine which test was used in the previous program and make every effort to use the same test that was administered to the students in the previous program. Specifically, instead of switching the students to a different test, the receiving program in the second scenario should use the CASAS reading test. And I just wanted to remind you that yes, we have all of the options open, but if you're receiving a student from another program who is tested with a different test than you normally use in your program, it is incumbent on you as the program to post-test them in the test that they were pre-tested on, not to re-pre-test them because you use a different test.
So that means we have to buy subscriptions to other tests.
Or you can share, right? Like, it's gonna be bonus to everyone if you go back to that program and say, can I post test on your test because you don't have it? Because it's gonna help them too. They're gonna get the level gain. You could share, I'm just saying.
I will just say if anyone's interested, I didn't bring them with me, but I will figure something out. I do have paper reading goals that I'm willing to give to whoever wants them.
That's actually not.
Granite does too.
Oh,
Not
okay.
away
I would-
that's because.
I didn't draw that.
Yeah, the classes that just can't.
I can't. Okay, never mind.
But yeah, 'cause you have to be trained.
Yes.
I mean, you just have to be trained on how to.
They have to be controlling what happens with those tests and then they have to go through that.
Okay. Another option is Granite did purchase a whole bunch of, CASA's virtual testing. And so we've been virtually testing students with disabilities that aren't able to make it in, or students that, are not able to get to one of our remote sites, where usually we open it up in the afternoons, for our students, and we have proctors that are able to administer it that have been certified.
I mean, we can help figure it out with each other, and I don't know that it happens all the time, but I feel like.
And Steph, and Granite's happy to share those passes.
Mhm.
So if you need some help, just give Kathleen a call.
It does not, but just because you don't often test on, let's say, tape, but you have a student, that doesn't mean you can just give the tape test, right, willy-nilly, like, you still need to be an administrator, like a certified administrator to be able to give those tests, right? You need to be following the standardized protocols, giving it correctly, being fully trained on how to do that test.
So if you, I think they say it's poor planning on institutions, sometimes students poor planning. They move, but if we know they're gonna move and they have enough hours, we can post test them. And then if they go through a different program, that could be a pre-test on a new test, right? So if I have a student that's pre-tested on steps, I post-test them before they leave to go to audit, and I know audit is going to have that. And audit can pre-test them on the table, and there's that, right?
Yeah, they said, that's what I said. They said, no, that's still.
Almost like the response was a misunderstanding of the question.
I clarified it, so this was the clarification, after the clarification. I'm just saying, less on their answer, more on, as much as possible, do everything in your power to test a student correctly and eliminate over testing. Let's just leave it at that.
But only in a
Which may
period of
include-
participation, right?
What's that?
Only in a period of
Oh,
participation.
yeah. If it's a new
If it's
period of
gaps,
participation, it doesn't matter, they're starting over, you have to do whatever. Yeah. Good clarification. Okay. Okay. So the other big announcement when we were at the NRS training in June was the option, the whole actually training was talking about alternative placement. So, during COVID, we introduced the idea of proficiency.
Provisional.
Sorry, thank you. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Provisional placement. So those are no longer, like, we're not doing provisional placements anymore. Those are gone. So now we have alternative placements. And this is straight from the NRS Technical Assistance Guide. And it says, state may exempt participants from, and let me highlight may, right? States may exempt participants from NRS pre and post testing who are enrolled in programs designed to yield MSG types 1C, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Anybody? Oh, this is a good test. Anybody remember what those types are?
IEPs were.
IT
or three of them.
3, 4, and 5 are IT ones like milestone, post-secondary transcript, and credentials. Very good is one DSG, yes, good. What were you saying? Is that what you said? Saying 1C. Sorry. 1C is post-sec, yes. And so 2 is.
Is that?
It's what? Yes.
Is it diploma or
HS, yeah. Yes, so all of those types, okay. So there's an option that we can or cannot put in place that students don't have to be pre or post tested.
Pre-tested.
Sorry.
Post test is out the door when you don't pre-test.
Well, good point, yes. Anyway, So we spent several days talking as a state, like, what do we think we should do about this? Do we think we should throw away the test, or are there situations where it might be okay to not test? And our determination is that there may be instances where it's appropriate not to test. However, we still strongly believe that pre and post testing are important, and that the structure of your program should be centered on tracking progress through pre and post testing, making sure that you're placing students appropriately, tailoring instruction based on results of the pre-test, and then checking for progress right through the post test. That's generally, I don't know what percentage, but the vast majority of the time, the structure. But there may be times where it's appropriate. So the way that we're doing it in this state, and other states may be doing it differently, it doesn't matter. It's the way that we're doing it in Utah. This is a hot link. So when you get the PowerPoint, you can click on that, and there's an application that you would want to copy and just pull it in, but an application where you will defend why you would not be pre or post testing a specific population of students. So you can't say, I'm no longer in Sevier County, we're no longer pre and post testing anyone. It would be like, we're no longer pre or post testing this specific group of students for this specific purpose, right? And then you can submit that and we will agree or disagree with you and give you permission to do this. So, or deny. So that's.
What would be a good example of that?
Yeah.
So we had talked in like our IET programs, it almost seems like that. So like we have, in Entrada, we have an offsite, IELCE IET program with Merit Medical. And so like, I think that we're still with pre and post test because I think our business partner wants to see that metric, right? The improvement, but they're getting, one of those indicators in the program. So, you know, they're working towards more than just language acquisition. They're working towards that hard skill development there. So, you know, but I mean, for me, I mean, I'll look at it, but I'm with Stephanie. I think that I'd be hard pressed I'd have to really have a really unique, really super unique need. It's weird to not test a student to see, and any of the things that we do, to find out how to help them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but the IET seemed, when we were in the advisory, the IET seemed to be the one that might be the most aligned. I think we talked a little bit about some GED stuff, but the IET seemed to be the most.
Like workplace literacy, especially where the employer themselves is saying like, I want you to come in and teach my students specifically for this purpose. Well, then that purpose would become one of the, because it would be a milestone, right? It would be one of the MSGs, and you might not, that purpose might not actually align enough with the test to see progress on the test. And in that case, then that makes sense. But very few instances.
And it could be something that none of us have thought about yet.
Yes, right. And so that's why I'm like, I'm not gonna say it has to be for, right? Like it's open. If you come up with a situation like Chris was talking about in the prison, right? Maybe you have students who are in max and you can't actually test them. Okay, well, that might be a really good use of this. Specific, you can get them a diploma, but you can't test them, right? Well, okay, so then that's a really good specific population, right? It's just for max. It's not for the whole prison, just for max, and a reason.
But then you don't get the level.
You're not, you can't get a level again if you don't test it. So you're limiting yourself to these MSGs, right? And like we said, 70% of our, about 70% of our MSGs come from level gains. So you're limiting. So anyway,
Like previous level 6 scores be something that you would just opt out of, like in a.
yes, that would be, yes, you would not have to, yes, that's absolutely true, because there's no reason to pre-test them.
We don't have to do the form on that, do we?
I mean, if they enroll, it's part of our program that they take a test. So if they've missed a period of participation, they have to retest. But if they've showed competency at 6.
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't know if we would want them alternatively placed.
No,
by
I would
definition,
say
because they would
even-
still be sixes.
Right, I would still say that a student that comes in, even if they've shown competency, you're gonna make sure that they still are competent. Just because they have tested, even
92 days ago?
something could have happened in those last 92 days. I mean, that's why the period of participation shuts off at 90 days is once something happens, we don't know whether we take results of it.
Well,
And so
Still. Stuff apply. That
You also
student
drove them to a
actually
5,
showed-
right? So that right? You do something at the end of the year.
the only one that I thought dropped to a 5 is 1C,
Okay.
and that's because of Carnegie units.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be, the thing about alternative placement on the reports, it doesn't actually show them, it puts them on an alternative placement line, so it wouldn't show them as an AB6. It would show them as alternatively placed. And that's fine, but you would still have to apply.
Also, alternatively placed students, that takes precedence over even if you test them.
Yeah, once you say they're alternatively placed, then that lasts until the end of that period.
That lasts for the program year. So it's not we're gonna alternatively place them 3 months down the road. Oh, just kidding, we're gonna actually test them.
And across
So you
programs.
can't
Just
delete
like
Yeah.
the alternative placement for that program year, they're on that line, they can't be changed. Yes, sir.
And you had talked about doing like a monitoring of that application. Are you still gonna do that? So, and I think that's an important point, if you guys submit your application to do that alternative placement for a specific population, like Stephanie is gonna monitor it to make sure that that's actually what's happening. So it's not just it's not gonna give you like a carte blanche to whatever. And so if you really do it, I'd have a really strong intent and reason and benefit to doing it. I mean, just personally.
Yeah, be thoughtful about it. So that's what this conversation or this discussion you can incorporate that in this discussion and think about are there good uses for it? However, we do have guests here that we don't want to so we'll come back to this discussion and we'll jump ahead to Lynn and Rachael. What?
Hey, hello, everybody. I'm Lynn Gutzler. This is Rachel Coleman. We work with Mark at Canyons Adult Ed Program, and we are excited to be here. We've done some work with multiple folks here in different programs, and we wanted to talk a little bit about that. And I'll let you know that we're providing some opportunity to continue this work over the next year. We have a grant from the STEM Action Center to do some work with PCBL courses, developing courses, doing some training around the state. So we wanted to let you know a little bit about that and just kind of generate some conversation as well about PCBL and what that can look like in your program or what it does look like in your program and so forth. So we're going to do our little ditty and then you can kind of think about it. Maybe that's something you would be interested in. Right? Think that? Okay. Oh,
it goes backwards. Sorry.
Hey, that's the wrong one. Okay, there we go. All right, we have a fun little video to show you. One thing that we feel strongly about is don't leave good instruction to luck. So if you have not seen this, it is about the luckiest unlucky man ever.
And depending on how you look at it, either the world's unluckiest or the world's luckiest person to ever live. His unbelievable yet true story begins on a cold winter's day in 1962. Traveling from Sarajevo to Dubrovnik, a fault with the line caused his train to jump the track and plunge into the freezing river below. While other passengers were killed in the crash or drowned in the sinking wreckage, suffering a broken arm, Frayne managed to escape and swim to shore. Little did Frayne know at the time, but this incident marked the beginning of a series of bizarre events that would occur over the next 40 years of his life. The following year, while traveling aboard a small plane bound for Rijeka, disaster struck for a second time. Mid-flight, both engines stopped working, cabin pressure dropped, and the plane began losing altitude. You might have thought that this was probably the worst thing that could have happened, but you'd be wrong. While the plane plummeted towards the ground, a malfunctioning door blew off, and poor Frayne was sucked out of the air. Tumbling through the air without a parachute, Frayne must have thought he was a goner. But while the plane crashed into the side of a hill, killing all 19 on board, Frayne somehow managed to land in a haystack and survived with only minor injuries. Another 2 years went by before Frayne's next brush with death. This time, while traveling by bus, lights on the road caused the wheels to lock up and the vehicle skidded through the safety guard and into the valley below. 4 passengers were killed, but not Frayne. Tired or perhaps terrified of public transport, Frayne began to travel mostly by car, but that didn't seem to help either. In 1970, his car engine burst into flames, but Frayne was able to jump free before it exploded. Then, 3 years later, in 1973, the fuel pump in his new car ruptured, causing another engine fire. But this time, the flames were blown straight at him through the air vents. Needless to say, he survived this too, albeit with less hair than he began with. In 1995, he survived being hit by a bus. And in 1996, a careless truck driver forced him off the side of a mountain road. His car plunged 300 feet and exploded in a ball of flames. But Frayne wasn't in it, having somehow jumped out of the window some way down the face. Now, Frayne's story may have ended there, as since then, Frayne hasn't been involved in any other death-defying incidents. However, there is one last twist to this man's incredible story. In 2003, at the age of 72, Frayne bought a lottery ticket, his first one in over 40 years. He won, safely securing his place as the luckiest unlucky person to ever live.
Alright, so that's a true story. This guy really existed. And I've done a fair amount of Googling. Doritos tried to get him to fly here to America to do a Dorito commercial based off of his whole life experience. And he said, nope, I'm not flying. And so they ended up scrapping the Dorito commercial idea altogether. Yep. So anyway, we have, some of you have seen us before. I think we were here at a director's meeting last year. And we've done some work with different programs, like I said, that's great. So we wanted to sort of do a touch point and invite you to be participants with us again, but also to sort of generate some conversation about where PCBL is in your particular programs. So we're going to do an activity called Quiz Trade. And when we look at instruction in the classroom, oftentimes when a teacher asks a question, the one student who knows the answer, maybe the 3 students who know the answer, raise their hand, maybe they don't. And what the teacher has done is they have called on the 1 or 3 people who have known the answer or know the answer and left out the other 20 people that might be sitting in class. This is one strategy teachers can use in the classroom to get more students answering more questions and learning from each other. So this is called Quiz Trade. On the Quiz Trade, you're going to pair up with somebody on the opposite side of the room, and you're going to ask these 2 questions. They'll answer. That's the quiz. And then the other quiz is the other person will ask you those questions, and you'll answer. And then the third part is the trade. So you're going to trade back across with somebody else and do the exact same thing. So if I were sitting on this side over here, I would go up and I would ask, how have you been implementing PCBL in your program? And she would answer, what benefits have you seen from implementing PCBL in your program? And she would answer. She would ask me those same 2 questions. We'll say trade, and I'm going to come over to maybe somebody else on the other side of the room and repeat the process. Okay. Quiz Trade will give you some time limits. We'll give you about 3 minutes to answer, and then 3 minutes to flip the answer. Trade to another person, 3 minutes to answer, 3 minutes to answer. Quiz Trade. If you're looking at those questions and inside you're going, so you should say your question should be answering like what has been the hurdle? What has been the main hiccup in being able to implement this implement PCBL? So are you guys ready? Any questions? I have a comment. We would encourage you to find someone who's not in your program, right? Find somebody that you are not familiar with. Yep, maybe that's obvious, but don't talk to the person you came with. Let's be real. That's what I would do. So, you know, any questions? All right, everyone stand up, find somebody else. Just make your way back to your seats as you, thank you for indulging in that. Hopefully you use at least opportunities to visit with other people and hear what they're doing in their programs. We want to let you know some of the things that we could provide or help with or assist with in any way. If moving forward with PCBL is something that you are interested in. And really, there's no magic ticket, all of a sudden this is gonna fix everything, right? Like that's not how it works. It's a challenging thing. Like I was talking with Nikki, it's a big hill to climb to just do that. But it's a really good thing. And in our experience, it's really positive for students. And, but that doesn't mean it's not a hurdle sometimes for teachers. So a few things that we would love to come and help with, support, visit with, even if you just need somebody to facilitate conversation, we would love to do that. So the question is, what help do you need? And that is probably as broad as we are people here, right? Everybody needs a little bit of something different maybe in their program. But we've done a multitude of PCBL classes at Entrada. We have lots of positive things. We've learned a lot in the process. We have some hurdles that we still need to work on overcoming, but we would love to come and work on that with your program if it's something you're interested in. It won't cost you anything other than finding some time and maybe a room. We'll work with teachers. We wanted to sort of develop a network. We want to develop a network. Some of you are doing some great things with PCBL. How can we glean from what you're doing and then maybe able to share that with other people? Work on developing a warehouse of resources as well as build curriculum. That's one thing actually we love doing that. And so if you have like kind of a few nuggets of ideas, you know, well, what about something like this or like this? We would love to work with you on building a curriculum or a particular course or something like that for your program. So all of those things are available. We've worked with some of these programs already. So if you want to talk with some of those directors about their experience and how that's been or what's been good about that. And we are hoping to get to the remaining programs, many of the remaining programs as we can between now and May of 2025. So we do like to really focus on some of those STEM course areas. We've got some funding from STEM Action Center to do this work. And so that's kind of our nudge is to make sure that we're working in STEM spaces, but that doesn't mean we can't help with all other areas as well. So if you're interested, this bit.ly is just a quick little Google form that says, I'm interested. Here's my name, here's my program. I think there's 4 questions on it. So it's Train PCBL, all capital letters. Train PCBL, all capital letters. So you can take a picture of it or throw it in your computer or whatever it is. And as we're going around to the different programs, we are also curating resources. So that's one of the things we share out. Thanks to the Alpine School District, we are taking their GED prep package and turning them into a PCBL course online in Canvas that students can take a Sept. It will pathway them to whatever sort of resources they need, from Khan Academy videos to written out examples and so on, so that they can work through individual problems and then they can go back into a post test in order to show success or back into the pathway if they aren't showing success. Yeah. So that is something, we don't have that done yet. We're almost done with math, but we'll have that by this spring. Are there any questions?
So,
yeah. Oh, what was the question?
Can you share it, of course?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It won't be, we're not quite finished. We won't be finished till the spring. We're teaching in the spring, so we will be finished by the spring. Yeah, we will be sharing that course. Yeah. Anything we've got, we're happy to share.
So, if you can, like, if you've got a teacher that's on fire to try something unique, you know, like they said, it's not gonna change everything, and it's not gonna be the whatever for every student necessarily, but it is a nice supplement to your program to really help those that are looking for that opportunity to move faster through demonstrating what they already know, getting a little nudge in the things they kind of know, and then learning the things that they really need help on, really targeting those areas. It is an investment, but I will tell you that your ROI will more than pay for it. Like, if you are smart about how you do it and you target the right students, you will see a net positive on your ROI on whatever funding and time that you've used on this. We've seen it. Like, we've had classes where we've had students in 8 days be able to earn a whole year's worth of science and a half year of English because of the way that they've developed these courses. So, you know, and a lot of our students do come to us with a lot of, you know, just because they failed all 4 quarters of biology doesn't mean that they didn't learn something, you know? So give them that opportunity to move quick. And it really has helped a lot of our students kind of persist to graduation, right? Because like sometimes when they're chopping wood and earning a quarter at a time, right? Like, well, this gives them that little leap. And it's really encouraging when they make that big chunk leap. And so then they're like, oh, shit, I can really do this, you know? Sorry about my language. But you know, like that really does help. Like we do have students that really that class, and then they look for those opportunities and then, oh, they're like, oh, you're doing that again? Awesome, I'm in. Like, so if we did it, like we've done physics, biology, engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah, and math, we did math, and we also had social, we had US history.
History, socials, yeah, lots of continuity. So anyway, yeah, feel free to reach out. If you are interested, we would love to provide some support in whatever way might be helpful for you. So, yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if they already said this, but just a reminder that their day job is instructional coaching, so they're really good at this kind of stuff. This is an opportunity for them to come in and answer whatever questions you have from people who are in the field doing the work. Take advantage of it. Like I strongly encouraged all of you to sign up. You'll do it on your timetable, and you know, it'll be personalized to you.
Yeah.
It's a really great opportunity.
Okay. Thank you all.
Open your phone. Okay, it's lunchtime, so,
Back one.
yeah, I think 1 o'clock is enough.
50 minutes.
There's,
Actually, 50 minutes, so 45.
it's all the way to the wedding.
I know.
And Alan's usually not there anymore.
Phyllis is not there either, but it's so local that's over here, it's open with a lot of different places to, across the street from the library to the east.
One of the food opens.
Okay, so I don't know why I'm talking, actually. We're gonna come back to the assessment. So because we're behind, we're gonna go ahead and talk about gathering student information, and then we'll have two, like our discussion time will just be kind of divided into two 10-minute sections. So trying to catch up a little bit.
Okay, all right. You guys all, has anybody out of curiosity not been into UASys yet? I'm just curious. 'Cause
Don't
sometimes-
admit it.
Oh, no, if you don't admit it, I will find out. I mean, I have the power now. So, okay. All right, so we are coming down to the end of reporting season, federal reporting season, data reporting season. You still got till December.
Yes.
But data reporting season, we're coming down to an end. I've got 2 more days after today that I'll kind of focus on federal reports. And then afterwards, I get to jump into the backlog of what you guys have sent me for different requests, be them enhancements, bugs, whatever. So I'm hoping to push out at least weekly, if not bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, a new update of something. Fixes on a report, something on the UI side, something. That's kind of my hope and goal. We'll talk a lot more about those later. But know that we are coming to your guys' requests. They're coming. I know I fixed some of those over the last little bit of time as we've kind of sporadically added those to our federal reports. But federal reports should be up and online for you guys to view them probably next week. I've got a couple of last minute things that I'm trying to fix and add. So know that the reports are coming up there so that you guys can run them. You guys can see the data, everything like that. So with that, our big thing that we have done, and actually Steph and I looked at this yesterday, our 16 to specifically 19-year-old population has increased, specifically this last year. No, our numbers are not technically higher than what they have been in the past, but percentage-wise, they are. What do we say? Quarter? 25%? 25% of our population is this age group, or 16 to 18-year-olds. We know it's a big population, and this population is a funny population because they're not adults, but they're in adult ed, and so we still need parent permission on some of this stuff.
And just for perspective, it jumped 900 over 900 from last year to, well, 22-23 to 23-24.
Yeah, we saw 900 student increase in in this younger population over the last year.
All that in fun.
With that, one thing you'll notice on the reports, and we did mention this last year when it did come out, the gender options, those have expanded now to include non-binary and a no answer. However, with our 16 to 18-year-old population, don't take them what they're at word. You need still a parent's permission in order to identify them as one of those other two options.
Or anything besides what their birth certificate says.
Correct. So again, unless they're emancipated, you'll need a parent's permission to do anything besides what their birth certificate is stating that they are. That includes pronouns as well. We jump into the K-12 realm when it comes to gender and pronouns for this age group.
Do we ask for birth certificates?
No. But if they're identifying, but if a 16 to 18-year-old is identifying as a non-binary, you'll need a parent's permission in order to do that, especially if you can identify that they're not, or that they are one of the two. So just keep an eye on that population, and that's really what it is.
Did you say one more thing? Did you say both pronouns and?
And gender, yeah.
What if they're 18 and awarded the state?
Well, if they're over 18, then, I mean,
if they're 18, then it's.
Then it's kind of a moot point. This is that's more 16, 17, but technically even 18-year-olds, if their cohort hasn't graduated, it doesn't actually view them as. So question in the back and then we'll come up.
18-year-olds that we can't ask what their pronouns are.
Right.
Correct.
So where it's on our application.
It's an optional field, so we're not technically asking them. Yeah, pronouns are optional, gender is a required. So.
How do we gather the proof that we have parent permission?
We just are gonna accept that if you put it in as something else, you have a parent permission. There's nothing that we're going to actually collect inside of it. And so if you do notice that, I mean, we're not gonna go and say, oh, show us all the proof of that. You know, even this year when we reported, the majority of our populations that identified as one of those other two options were in this population. And so I would expect that if I came, that you would say, yes, we got parents' permission to do this.
You could, you could have them initial, the other I word, you could have them initial by the pronouns.
Yeah.
You already have their signature on the bottom. I would think that would be sufficient.
Okay, climate survey agreements for 16 to 18-year-olds. I know you put this on here. I wasn't sure 100% what you wanted to talk about, just that it's there.
No, that you have to have, right, for 16 to 18-year-olds, you have to have that agreed upon at the beginning of the year if you're to do any kind of climate surveys, period. So if you have not, if you were planning on doing, you know, like a survey for a 16 to 18-year-old and you have not already put that in your documentation at enrollment, just don't survey the 16 to 18-year-olds this year. Wait until next year. You can survey everyone else. Don't do the 16 to 18-year-olds. Wait till next year. It's just highlighting that these aspects that are K-12 heavy, that are 16 to 18-year-olds, and we don't typically have to worry about, for the 16 to 18-year-olds, we still do have to worry about.
Perfect. All right. How many have been asked by someone in your K-12 about the UZI reports?
My emails to you, Adam.
Okay. No, and that's fine. I'm happy to answer questions. I answer questions year round for the UZI report. With the UZI report, the SSID collection is one piece that I really stress hard about. I do plan some point this year to tap into the SSID system so that SSIDs can be looked up. If you don't have them, SSIDs, if you have a transcript, should be on the top of your transcript. It's pretty easy to plug those in. That's how the UZI report is generated to make sure that the correct students go to the correct LEA. It's through the SSID. So specifically with this population, in fact, 16 to 19-year-olds, 19-year-olds will show up on the UZI report as well. Please make sure that you are collecting those SSIDs. It is very critical that we get those. I do run a check afterwards, but even my check is not 100%. everybody. It's so. Please collect those SSIDs. Graduation cohort data collection. This is a new field thanks to our friends out at Davis who brought this up. We were finding it was hard to identify students who were sophomores, juniors, even seniors. Seniors is how it came up. But with this graduation cohort, you can plug the graduation cohort in and we will be able to run reports based on those cohorts. That report is not yet up and available. I'm gonna give myself an extra couple of months to kind of get that up and running. It will be on the GO report as soon as I have that GO report revamped and up and running. But this will allow you to identify in your programs who is of the sophomore, junior, and senior age, so that if you have an LEA come and ask you questions about that, you'll be able to give them a report of here's who is in that area. So again, the graduation cohort becomes a required field when the student is under the age of 18. So if you can't save your demographic page, that is probably why. That seems to be the biggest caveat that I'm finding with most programs. Okay. How do I know what's supposed to be in a student file? We go over this yearly and we'll probably go over another. In fact, we do have this scheduled already. I don't remember when. It's scheduled for one of our third Thursdays. Section 6 inside of our policy and procedure guide gives you everything on what needs to be kept and when, how long it needs to be kept. We currently have, and again, when we send this out, this YouTube channel is linked. You'll be able to go and log on there, watch the old video. Now, it is a video from Utopia. But the idea behind it is still there and good. So, if you have questions about how long should I keep certain things, section 6 is your best. Know that with the way you collect things, section 6 is what adult education says how long you need to keep it. If your LEA states you need to keep it longer, you keep it longer. You go whichever time frame is longer for that piece of data. Questions? Okay. Fall conference. Fall conference, we've already put a plug in for this earlier today. At the fall conference, we are going to, how many, out of curiosity, well, I know, but so that you guys know, how many were part of my user group building UASIS? Sort of take a look around. Those are who helped build UASIS to the state that it is currently. Since March, May. April? One of those 3 months. We disbanded the user group. It served its purpose. We got what we needed out of it. We haven't run anything since. I want to bring it back. The feedback that we've gotten from our users has been fantastic. It made us build the system the way you guys wanted to see. So we are going to build it back. Our first user group reinitiated meeting is going to be happening during fall conference. On that second day, the full day of fall conference, which is the 30th, the first breakout of the day will be the first meeting. If you have any interest in participating, please come. If you really want to be part of it, that would be the first time that I would come. Now, we are open to directors, admins, teachers. I don't care. If we find that the group is too large, we'll cut it down and we'll kind of cycle throughout. I'm not planning on actually ever getting rid of this group. It's going to cycle on who's on it and when people have time, but it is going to be coming back. We'll probably meet, I think we figured every other month to begin with. We're going to start meeting every other month it'll be an hour, one day, every 2 months. If we find that that's too often, that we're, don't have a lot to discuss, we'll change to quarterly, but know so October will be our first one, then December will follow, or January, because for the end of October, probably January will be our next one. But every year we'll cycle through on who wants to participate. So it'll be plan on a year-long commitment. You'll get emails, you'll get lists. And what we'll go over is, what do you want to see? Alex and I will talk about what's on the docket for the upcoming pushes over the next couple months. We'll get feedback from you guys on what's good, what's not, what are we missing, what would you like to see, that kind of stuff. And if we need to build stuff inside of UASIS, that group is who I will be talking to about how do we want to build it, how do we want to see certain pieces. So keep that in mind, because you guys as directors, if you want to be part of it, not necessarily you personally, but your program, think on who you would want to invite to that. Again, I'm looking for the whole spectrum of program. Whether it's a teacher or whether it's the director, I would like to get input from everybody. But that is gonna be our first one. These follow-up breakout of that will be simply a Q&A feedback question for UASIS. So if you have UASIS questions, it's gonna be Alex and I will be in the classroom, just simply answering questions about UASIS. So we will have 2 breakouts that deal with UASIS inside of the user group meeting, so keep those in mind. Again, the conference is for everybody, data people included. I know we get excluded a lot. I'm one of those. Hey, all right, so
Actually, go back. We'll start with the assessment.
we are going to start with assessment. So we are going to take the next, well, it's going to be broken into 2 10-minute groups. So we're going to take the next 10 minutes and talking about the assessment stuff that we talked about earlier. These are going to be your kind of leading discussion questions about that. We'll take 10 minutes and we'll do these questions. After 10 minutes, we will change gears, jump back into the data piece, and I'll put up those questions, and then you can have the discussion about there. Any questions before we start? All right, let's bring it back.
You're in the Sky program where you're on like a.
Okay, all right. I know I've heard some good conversations. I was part of a couple of them. So it sounds like we're making progress. I hope that you guys have kind of learned a few things, both your data collection and with assessment. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the next 2 or 3 minutes. And on those sheets, go ahead and jot down a couple of ideas that you want to take back and implement within your own programs. Once we do that, we'll move then on to our next section.
Copy of that too.
Hey, for those of you who are asking about the grievance policy, it is accessible in the Google Drive that has all of the UASIS stuff. The grievance policy is there. And it's Danielle's turn.
Nope, you're good.
It sounds like we've enjoyed a moment of quiet reflection at the end of the and going on to our next topic, within that intake and orientation process, identifying barriers, as we're working with students and what we can do to provide support is going to be our next topic. We know that our adult learners have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of responsibilities as adults, and it's not always easy to juggle and manage and balance all of those things. And it's even more complicated when you throw in a learning disability or financial constraints or a language barrier. So we know that there's a lot going on with our students. If you can hear this meme, then you're my people. because it's been in my head ever since I put it on this slide. So I really want you to just think about what can we do to identify those barriers early on in the enrollment. Are we utilizing the barriers that they're filling out on the intake form to initiate discussion and see what's going on with you? Where do you think you may run into trouble as we're working through these classes? Do you see any issues with being able to meet our attendance policy? And trying to create an environment where students feel comfortable to share that information with you. Thinking about how do you utilize counselors in your program, some policy advocates, and if you don't have those roles, who is that person? It might be you with your, the one-man show or a small program, and taking ownership of like, yeah, I really need to make sure that I'm hitting that counseling piece and we're identifying the barriers for those students and thinking about how we can support them as holistically as possible to make them able to access this learning experience. We know we can't do it alone, so it's really important to collaborate and provide comprehensive support with our partners. So some of that is knowing who your partners are, Of course, our core partners at Workforce Services and the USOR, but also every district and every LEA, every community is different and unique, and you have your own resources. So just being able to connect to your communities and thinking about where are there opportunities to connect with overlap resources. And then finally, just like going beyond knowing what those resources are to making sure that the connections are happening. So having a referral system in place. We talked about DWS's referral system and making sure we're aware and have access to that. But with other partners as well, thinking about, how well do we communicate? Are we creative in the way that we're collaborating? Are we looking for opportunities to grade services and funding? And how is everyone in your program a part of that process? Are teachers able to aware of the different community resources? Are they connecting students to those opportunities? So back to your groups, just want to really give you an opportunity to share and talk about some of the things that you're doing. Thinking about how do we take that statuses and barriers conversation that is very yes, no, lots of federal language, not very friendly on our intake forms, and turn that into a conversation. What support services do you offer? How are you connecting students to those appropriate services? And how do we empower students so that they're able to go on and find that services and advocate for themselves beyond their time with us? So back to your groups. I won't make you shuffle again, but if you don't want to talk to the person next to you, you're welcome to.
Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? Yeah, good day today? Good. I'm heard. Some of you guys are looking at me like, that was almost kind of. I won't keep you too long. I do want to tell you a story though, and I was gonna tell you this anonymously, but as I think through it in my head, I just can't not say that it's me. So I'll just tell you, this is my life experience, and I hope you don't mind my sharing it. Okay? And there is a reason for this. So it's not just because I want to talk about myself. That's never comfortable. But I do want to share just a couple of things as we get into this topic of setting personalized expectations for our students. When I was going from elementary school to middle school, elementary to middle school, well, way back then, right? They used to email paperwork to your house. And I don't know how, and I don't know why, but I ended up getting to the mailbox before my parents did. And so I grabbed that packet and I saw what it was. And I remember very distinctly looking at the address of where it came from. It came from Burbank Middle School. And I took it and I dropped it in the trash and didn't think about it again for the rest of the summer. So first day of school comes around, right? And back then, again, this is way back in the boom, we used to have to walk up to a table where teachers were sitting. And you'd walk up to that table and their question to you would be, okay, what electives do you want to take? And so I didn't know what to say because remember, I had thrown all my paperwork away and my parents didn't know that I had thrown that away. So they were shocked by the question as well. And so the teacher sitting across says, well, we only got 2 classes left for elective. And my mom standing behind me says, okay, what are they? And one of them was wood shop and the other one was piano. And so the teacher said, which one do you want? And I said, I'll take wood shop. And I remember very distinctly my mom's hand grabbing my shoulder and squeezing and saying, he will take piano. So I entered a piano class, and in my house, music wasn't a big thing. My dad loved the Beatles. He learned English, listening to the Beatles, taught himself English, listening to Beatles songs and Beatles albums. So he loved that music, but that was pretty much the extent of our musical experience. And so I began taking this piano class. My first year, I did okay, I guess. My second year, I did okay. My third year, I remember sixth, seventh, and eighth. So eighth grade, the teacher says, "Hey, Jeff, you're doing really well in music. And I think you should consider something." I said, "Oh, what's that?" She says, "There's a music magnet opening up and you should apply to go there." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And I didn't really think much about it, right? I'm a middle schooler. I got other things to think about. So I ended up putting it off. And teacher one day after class says, "Hey, Jeff, did you fill out that application or did you get the application for school?" I said, "No, I haven't done that yet." She says, "Come to me at lunch and come today. I'll have that application for you." I said, "Okay." So I went, picked up the application, took it home. Do you think I gave it to my parents? It stayed in my backpack for a week. And then she came back and says, "Hey, Jeff, did you fill out that application?" And I said, "Oh, no, I still haven't given it to my parents." He says, "Come back to me at lunch. We'll fill it out. Just take it home, have your parents sign it, bring it back to me." And I did. And I brought it back. And didn't hear anything from that magnet school at all. Completely nothing. Finished out the school year, started summer, and just before summer ended, I get a call from, or excuse me, I went to my local high school at that point, and I was there for a week. On that Friday, I got a call. Now, this was my experience in high school. This was LA Unified School District. It's a 2-block campus. There's one bridge that crosses the street from one block to the other. And it's a closed school. No open schools, no open campuses in LA Unified School District. They're all closed. So my 5th period class was on one side of the block. And my 6th period was on the very far side of the opposite block. It would take me 20 minutes to go from that classroom, cross the bridge, and get to my other classroom. And I would get there literally 15 to 20 minutes late, and I would have to sit outside the door and try to listen in because the classroom was full. I did that for a week. And that Friday, I got a call saying, "Hey, Jeff, we are the magnet school, and we have an opening. Are you interested in coming to this school?" I said, "Yes. When do I go?" They said, "Come Monday." So without saying goodbye or anything to any of my friends, I went from going to high school in one place and starting high school in another in a music magnet. And when I got there, the counselor introduced me to the principal, walked me around the campus, told me about the classes that I would be taking, and told me that there were very specific requirements to maintain and stay at that school. I had to take several AP classes, I had to take honors classes, I had been gifted classes. My schedule started at 7 a.m. and my last class would end at 5. Why? Because we did regular school and then we had specific music courses that we were doing. Music theory, music composition, playing, piano, and then any other instrument that you were doing. So went through high school that way. And thank you, Siri. Sorry about that. My senior year in high school, I go to my English class, it's a parent conference. I walk in with my mom, parent conference, her teachers at the front of the desk, or she's behind her desk. She's surrounded by parents. And I walk in through the back door with my mom. I walk over to a board that showed some student work, and I had a page of my work listed there. So I showed my mom. Happily going to walk out without talking to the teacher. And the English teacher says, "Hey, Jeff, is that your mom?" I'm like, "Yes, it is." She said, "I can't talk to you now because I'm really busy, but Jeff needs to start signing up for college." Now, my older brother had already been to college. My dad had graduated. But I hadn't filled out any paperwork or done anything to get involved in college. So you can guess my mom got on top of me to make sure that I did that. Right? And he did it and he got done taking care of it. I finished my bachelor's degree. My last class, I was an English lit major. My last class was a test. Finished my test. Remember blue books? Remember filling out blue books? So I had one question, and I was a literature major, so I filled out 8 books. 8 of those blue books to respond to the one question on Moby Dick. You ever want to know about Moby Dick? I'm happy to do that. 8 pages worth at least. Finished that. Went back the next week, picked up my blue books. The back of the blue books, I had my grade and a note from the professor. Now, I was so uninvolved in wanting to do anything with school that I didn't realize that that professor was the English department chair. And in that blue book, she wrote, "Jeff, you did really well in my class. I was really excited to have you in it. You should consider going to grad school." And so I saw that and literally in that moment walked over to the registrar's office, to sign up for grad school. And I did that. And every step of my educational career, even though I had great parents, even though my dad was college literate, even though my older brother was already in college and he graduated, I had people along the way that helped support and push me along. That made a huge difference. And it was those people that I am truly, truly grateful for. Because I didn't know that this job at the state office even existed when I started teaching back in 2000. And somehow I ended up here. And I'm very grateful to those people. You guys are those people, for the people that you are working with, for the students that walk through your doors. And you guys have a huge impact, not just you as directors, but the teachers that are working specifically with those students, the tutors that are working specifically with those students. Anybody that has contact with them had a huge, huge impact, far greater than you will ever know. But you really do have that impact. So as we're talking about setting goals or expectations for students, there's some things that we need to talk about first. And there are specific components that you should be aware of. Identifying goals. When I was in middle school, I remember very distinctly, because I started liking music. I was like, okay, when I grow up, I'm going to be the best jazz pianist that ever existed. But I can't do that and learn to drive too. So I'm going to have to either learn one or the other. That's how my mind was working as a kid. It helped me to have adults to be able to tell me that, yeah, you can do both. Because for me as a kid, that wasn't an option. Not because I didn't see it, it's just I wasn't aware enough to understand that. Those are the kind of things you can do in your programs to help students. So help organize and prioritize goals for students. Identify benefits and barriers to reaching those goals. Write positive goal statements. When I said I could only do one or the other, that wasn't positive. Right? I was selling myself short. But that's all that I could see from my perspective. It took adults like you guys and programs like the one that you guys run to be able to help me see beyond that, beyond myself. And a part of that is understanding how students can self-regulate and understand their knowledge and their understanding. So analyzing gaps between where they are and where they want to be. Oftentimes students can't do that on their own. So my question to you, not out loud, but just that you can think about is, what do you do systemically to help students understand that gap? What can you do? How can you change your program or improve your program to ensure that you take students from where they are to where they want to be? Because that's going to be the biggest motivator. It's not where we want them to be necessarily. It's where they see themselves trying to get to. And what did your program do to help support that? Set deadlines for those goals. It's critical that you do, because otherwise things happen in life. Life happens, right? I was talking to somebody at lunch, and he said, life just happens and gets in the way. And it does. So what do we do systemically to help our students move forward? And then it's not only helping them understand themselves and where they want to be, but also what do we, again, as programs, as classes, how do we support students in doing that? Do we help learners to set goals and expectations for their learning? If we do we promote reflective dialogue? If they're doing that on their own? Do we provide immediate and specific feedbacks for learners and where they're at? And do we help learners link new information to prior learning so that that motivation continues? And I know retention is something that we talk about a lot in adult ed, right? Trying to keep our students. There's a big difference in retaining a student because we need their hours and helping support what they're trying to do in their lives. And that's a critical thing to understand, and it's a critical thing to convey systemically. And that's hard sometimes to do systemically. But again, the question is, what do we do in order to create that student so that this becomes the culture that they're working in when they come to our program? And I know for a fact that you guys are doing some of this, if not all of it, in one way or another. But are you doing it in a way that is very specific and targeted? Or is it just happening because you have good people working in your school with your students? See the difference? So that's what we're hoping that you walk away with my little story and our little section here, is to figure out and think about how do we do these things systemically, programmatically, so that it's embedded in the way that we treat our students, so that it becomes the way that we look at our students, and that we know that all of you have large numbers of people coming to your classes, more than sometimes we can accept. But is that reason because they hear great things about what we do with students, or is it just because they need to be in a classroom? And there may be a mix of both. So hopefully your program is helping support students in this way. And the more that you do that, the longer they're going to stay with you. Because they're learning not just to learn, but there's a purpose to it. So with that in mind, I have some questions for you to think about and talk about. Would you like to do that in small groups, or would you like to do it as one group as a whole?
Small groups.
Small groups? Okay, so let's do that then. Let's go through these questions. What does prioritizing student goals look like and feel like? What does it look like now? And what do you want it to look like to better and improve it? Are there barriers that you foresee in teachers and coaches taking time to help students set goals? And how do we cross those barriers? What kind of supports do you foresee students needing to be able to set those goals? And how can your program help facilitate this type of programs? We'll give you 10 minutes to do that. 10 minutes to do that.
Thank you. You've almost made it through this long process of dissecting the orientation and intake process. So what is left now for the rest of today, pretty much, except for the last few minutes that are devoted to Mark. So you can't leave until Mark speaks. Just setting your expectations.
You'll be here till
You're
5.
keeping us. But he did assure me that he could be bought off with AEAUT fees. So anyway, so in between now and March, what's gonna happen, I'll give you about like 3 minutes, it's not very long, sorry, but to kind of gather your thoughts. And then you're gonna divide into threes, and this is important that it's only threes. If we have, I didn't count the numbers, if we have ones that need to be twos or something, we can adjust, but pretty much threes, because what you're gonna do is go through this protocol. I'll go back through it, but you're gonna go through this feedback protocol. So one at a time, you'll take, each person will have about 20 minutes, right? So the first person will present like all of the things that you've learned today and how you like kind of what you're gonna implement or what you've learned, what you progressed through your intake and orientation process. You're gonna present that for about 10 minutes-ish. And then the other two people are gonna be completely silent during that time. You're just presenting what you've learned, what you do for intake and orientation, how you might tweak that. Then for 5 minutes, the other two get to quiz you and ask you all of the questions that they were wanting to ask while you were presenting for the 10 minutes to clarify. And then there's 5 minutes for them to give you feedback on how to make your plan better. That's 20 minutes each, right? So then you'll switch to the other person will go, and then you'll go to the person. Any questions on that process?
Want to clarify?
Yes, please.
Like the giving feedback time, you stay silent.
Yes, you stay silent. Yes, you're just taking it in, right? You're listening to what they have to tell you, taking notes, so that you can go back to your program and make it even better. Any other questions or clarifications needed for the process? Okay, so then for the next 3 minutes, kind of go through like what part of the intake process is going well, what would I add to the intake process to enhance the student's experience and encourage retention, what should be adapted in our intake process to encourage retention. Again, you're going to be prepared to share your reflections because that's what you're going to do for the next little bit. So I know 3 minutes isn't tons, so hopefully you've been doing this along the way a little bit. You're just kind of gathering and listening at this moment. Okay, 3 minutes. Great, I'm gonna ask a question. Has everyone pretty much already shared? Because maybe it was way too long a time. Okay, then let's just stop. If everyone's pretty much shared, we'll turn the time over to Mark. And you know what? I think I have some extra cookies. So first come, first served to take the rest of the cookies. I'll have them up on the top of the desk. So we'll let Mark go. You guys can leave after Mark presents. We hope to see many people from programs back here Tuesday for the ELA Summit. And then all y'all back in Nebo Summit Center for the fall conference on the 29th and 30th. And tomorrow, we're so excited to see all of you with federal grants right back here at 9 o'clock.
All right, so Stephanie said that I can excuse you all when I'm done. So. So what I'm here to talk to you guys about is AEAUT, our Adult Educators Association. And so we're the ones that help connect you with your Mountain Plains and your co-wave memberships. We do the trainings throughout the year and a conference once a year. And in the past, what we've done is had you sign up your individual employees, you know, your teachers and staff members as a member of the state organization. And then you had to do, you know, go through all your named people and pay each individual deal. So what we decided to do to make it easier, and there were some different changes in how USBE could partner or not partner with agencies. And so Stephanie had to change how she supported professional development in state. And maybe you guys all noticed that you were allocated some professional development dollars. And I'm hoping people read between the lines as I'm speaking without saying anything. But one of the things that you all could do to help support professional development is to get your organization and organization membership to your state, right? And so what we've done is we took that state allocation and we tried to come up with some really basic price points. If you had a zero allocation for PD, we just made it like $100 deal. And if you had $4,000, you're probably going to pay like a $2,300 fee or whatever. It's somewhere really close to 50 to 60%, whatever the PD allocation was. And so again, out of that, you're going to get some, we're going to have workshops throughout the year, and then we'll have your co-aid and your Mountain Plains memberships, as well as your adult AEAUT membership and conference and things like lunches during the year. other meetings and all those other things that AAUT does. So Shauna Burke is our treasurer, and she'll be reaching out to you to see how we get this paid for. So you'll see how much the deal is. She'll send you an invoice or whatever you might need to pay with check or credit card or whatever. Anyone have any questions about that? Cool, everyone does want to go. I have one. Oh, did I screw something up? Did they? Okay, and so by the way, I did that by hand, so I might have screwed something up. So Davis, it'll be something like half of whatever the PD allocation was. So if I screwed something up, I apologize. Did you get a zero PD allocation? Okay, something happened with my formula.
Oh, just for first.
Something happened with my, maybe I didn't have that cell formula. I'll get with you individually. And you, are you like at a zero or something?
We're just gonna.
Oh, okay, I see. Good. Fine. So we have, our fall conference here, the 29th and 30th of October, right? And AEAUT is gonna sponsor like, what is that, Wednesday night? Is it Wednesday night? Yeah. Wednesday night little get together and we talked about a banquet. And you know, I don't know about you guys, but is it Tuesday? What, the 29th? The 29th, right? Because Thursday is Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tuesday night, the 29th, and that's when AEAUT is gonna do some sort of something. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I just don't want to sit down for a banquet after being in a workshop all day. I might want to talk with my colleagues a little bit and have a little FaceTime maybe with like our friends from the state, right? And, or to talk I think the thing I get most from a lot of these is not just the new stuff that we hear from the state, but to each of us talking with each other to see what's going on. Because I think sometimes we're all alone in our district jobs, and this is one place where we have colleagues. And so I was thinking that maybe like some sort of collegial deal. Do you guys think like finger food and some tables, a little bit of background music and an opportunity to talk with each other is good enough for a Tuesday night? Or does anyone here want a full banquet? Does anyone here want that kind of deal? I didn't either. So, okay, that's what we'll do. All right. I told that they can go.
But
Oh.
before you leave, make sure you grab any banners. So we don't have to get them.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.